Hey guys, this is Mike from TBNation, and today I'm going to explain to you the difference between Nate's hatches and my Gen X and microframing hatches. So these are Nate's dry hatches. They come in 1/8, 090, and 063. This is ultralight version of the hatch. So how you measure these is this is your hole size. If you see measurement like that, 1030, that's the actual hole size, meaning the lid sits in a dry track frame. This is a whole entire frame with a dry track and a bleed out port right here. So when you make the measurement for your hatch drop in, say you want to drop it into a wood deck, the hole size, that's the hole size. And we have an assorted amount of hole sizes you can go for, although you can email us at support@tbnation.net to get a custom quote for a specific hatch that you need custom made. There will be a custom charge and a few other things. It'll take a little bit longer turnaround, but we can get you exactly what you need if that's what you desire. But that's how it is. There's a lot of confusion on what actually happened. This is the hole size. This is the flange that it sits in. So if I were to drop it right into my deck, I would cut the hole size out, the 1030 hole size, drop this in, and then I would secure it with screws or rivets. Or I would even, if you have a wood deck, you can find the depth of the aluminum hatch that you ordered and just router that down, and it will sit completely flush. And then you can stick EVA foam like this right over the deck where it's wood aluminum hybrid, and you'll never even know. You can also match these with aluminum frames and aluminum decking. So if you want to run all aluminum decking, like you want no wood, you can't stand wood, don't even know why anybody would use it, these are your best bet because they will sit flush with the deck. Then you can get equivalent gauge aluminum framing to push in on all the stationary panels that you would need. And so these are really good for that. Know that when you do start stacking them together, there's an 1.5 inch flange that sits on top, and then if you start stacking them on top of each other, there's going to be a 3-inch gap between each lid. So if you want bigger lids, just know that's a thing, because that the opening is smaller because the gap in the frame has to be put between each hatch. A lot of people don't care about that. That's just a preference thing. I just want to note that out there. Now, these are my hatches. I have Gen X hatches, which are fully tubed, fully boxed frames. The kit consists of aluminum tubing and these corner brackets and shims that when you cut the tube with a miter saw or whatever saw you choose, you can then push it in together. We have tutorials on this all day. We have masterclass framings on Gen X framing, but you can essentially make any hatch you want. And the fully boxed frame is extremely sturdy, just as sturdy, if not sturdier than welded hatches that are just at an angle. And so I have a combination of those in here. And so this is what we're running for the top deck. I run these, and I ran tubed under supports, which are quite strong. Another thing you can do if you're going to make an exceptionally big hatch out of this framing, which you're using say 063 or 090 aluminum decking, and you're worried about it warping in the middle, is you can do it like this, where you have the tubing under supports, but then you have a piece of aluminum joining it, and what that does is it makes the lid support on another level of stiffness. And so this is actually a microframe hatch. This is a Gen 7 microframe. This is the smallest version of framing that we have for ultralight boats. You see, this is a really small boat, and so because of that, all the stuff that we wanted to stick into it, we wanted to microframe it so it was the lightest possible. And so this is the microframe Gen 7 hatch versus Gen X and Gen 7. They're all right there, but Gen 7 is just angle. Gen X is tubing, much stronger, a little heavier, but this is not as strong but a lot lighter. But they're all DIY. You custom make these. With these, you custom bend these, and it all consists of riveting all kinds of structure together. And so we have full videos and tutorials on how we did these, but this hatch is extremely light. The other thing, they both have dry hatch systems, but this one sits on top of the frame. Or Nate's hatches, they sit inside the frame where you need a specific hole size. These sit on top of the frame. And then we put dry hatch lips. They're diversion lips. They're not full bleed outs. So because of that, we have one area where, man, I gotta clean this thing up. We have one area where the water can get diverted and run off. So say the water gets diverted from here, runs off into the locker and bleeds out to the system. So we have a whole system for it. Also, these kits are substantially cheaper versus the pre-made hatches. So a lot of the time do you have more time than money, or you have more money than time? Because you have more money than time, these are a great way to go. Also, are you really creative? Do you want to build a whole boat from scratch like this, where you have no boundaries, or do you already know you're very, very pre-calculated? You've already got a diagram of what you want, it's very precise, and you know that the exact size hatches you get when you get them, they're going to be exactly what you want, and you're not going to be like, oh, I wish I didn't get that. If you're kind of a build-as-you-go person, the Gen X or the Gen 7 frames, specifically for, those kits are really good for you. If you're precise and you're willing to put the money in, because these are, again, a little bit more expensive because they're pre-made and welded, definitely go that way. A lot of people love it. It will save you a lot of time. Most of the boats that we produce for people are made out of these hatches, but most people do them out of the garage. Making their own personal garage boat are made out of these hatches. So specifically look at Gen X for standard boats, 14 to 16 feet large. The Gen 7 kit is specifically made for a small boat, super light frame. Like this is a 1232, a 1236. I wouldn't go much bigger on the micro frame. If you go to like a true 14-foot boat and you're gonna have like a 15 or 20 horse back on the back of it, I would look at the Gen X framing because it's a little bit stronger, a little bit more stout. It's got the fully tube frame, and the Gen X also works in 16-foot boats that aren't flying. But if you're gonna have a boat that's going like 30 plus, 40 miles, 50, 60 miles an hour, you know you got a pretty big outboard on it, and it's a 16, 17, 18-foot boat. That's when the Gen X kits, you really don't want to run them because they're all rivets. It's all thin. It's all made to be lightweight and not terribly structurally, competent to just smack waves at a million miles an hour. So at that point in time, we would section you over to the non-ultralight, fully welded drop-in hatches. Those are much more suited for boats with large outboards that are really going to take a beating and you're just really plowing through the waves at high speeds, and I would recommend that specifically. Thank you for taking the time to view that. I hope that answered a few questions. Those are the most frequently asked questions we get in terms of what type of hatches people are looking for, and so I hope that gives you a good basis. If you need to email us for a custom quote, email us at support.tbnation.net, or you can just give us a call on the customer service line that is listed in the link for the framing. Appreciate your time. Thank you much.